No, thank you. Sleepy. Come back in an hour. Need sleepy. Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning to everybody. Hope everybody's doing okay. We're glad to have you part of our show today, and we're glad to be part of your morning. Don't forget, you can get this show on your handheld. Just go to fight.tv. That's FITE.TV/Billy C. Download the app and enjoy the show. And you can see some other great stuff on Fight TV, including some live events, some on-demand events, and some other combat sports shows. So don't forget, check us out, fight.tv/Billy C. Download the app today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located in St. Simons Island, Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. And don't forget, if you're heading south, which I wish I was, I look out the studio window here and all I see is snow. As a matter of fact, I think there's a couple of Eskimos out there building an igloo. And then the birds, I make the mistake of feeding the birds. They run out of bird seed and they start, like in jail, banging on the wall. Hey, we need some more seed, but just relax, guys. I'll have my people get you some seed. Anyway, it's a 15-minute out-of-your-way detour off of I-95. Where did I-94 come in? Uh-oh. It's going to be one of those days. What's in these cough drops? I-95, 15-minute detour. And find out why we go crazy over Sal's food. And I could go for a pizza pie from Sal right now. So check out the website for the address, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by FireFan. It's a great new fantasy game. It's like no other. And here's the best part. If you go to www.firefan.com/BillyCBoxing, you get to download the game for free and play it for free forever. But here's the best part. You can win some money. So what do you got to lose? Go to www.firefan.com/BillyCBoxing and download and play the game today. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can literally get a copy of it right now by visiting BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board. If you're looking for a signed copy, don't worry about it. I'll hook you up. Visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book club section. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by Billy C's Carl Frampton, Leo Santa Cruz post-fight show, which will be taking place right here on Fight TV, on Billy C. Boxing, and of course on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING, on Saturday night, approximately 6 minutes after the official announcement is made for the winner. And you can tune it in right here. We'll open up the phone lines. We'll get your opinions. We'll give you ours. So anyway, we got a busy show scheduled for today. Unfortunately, last-minute issue has brought Alex out of the mix, so we will be postponing our blast from the past one more week. Salvador Sanchez will be our guy. Not next week, because we're not able to do a show next week. I'm actually going to New York City to do an interview for a documentary that they're doing on my guy, Tom Molyneux. So we will not be here next Wednesday, but Blast from the Past will return the following Wednesday on Salvador Sanchez. Big news in boxing today. Deontay Wilder, a guy that I've been very critical of based on his level of opposition, and I was certainly critical of his opposition scheduled for his fight on February 25th, Andre Warzik. And it was released yesterday that Warzik has failed a drug test. Yes, he failed a PED drug test, and most likely, for all intent purposes, will be out of the fight on February 25th. So my question is now, what other cupcake are they going to feed Deontay Wilder? Because he certainly hasn't fought any top fighter during his career. What cupcake will they rake out and give to feed to Deontay Wilder? Joining me right now, who I'm sure has a very strong opinion about yet another fighter testing positive for performance-enhancing drugs, sort of like what we were talking about earlier with a show. PEDs are here to stay. I mean, more people are doing them than not. Please welcome my man, Sal Rocky Senecola. Another PED guy, Sal.
Another PED, and it doesn't stand for pet. Boy, I can't believe it. I cannot believe this, what is happening in the game of boxing. And you know what, Billy? Here's the thing. It hasn't just started to happen. It's probably been happening. It's just starting to become noticed, and with the testing and everything else. I mean, back in the 80s, when I was a professional, there was very, very, very little known as sports enhancement drugs or anything else that performance enhancing drugs that were being used. And that was the early days of bodybuilding with using injections of Deca-Durabolin, Anabol, this one, that one. I don't know what it was. But the bottom line is, some of these fighters are taking this over the top now, and they're looking for any competitive edge. But what it tells me, too, is even something sadder, because it tells me that these guys inside, maybe they don't have the mind, body, and soul and the competitive spirit to do it right, to do it without having to bolster their performance chemically or whatever else. And that's what's sad, because a fighter, I mean, what other sport? You have just your bare necessities for protective equipment and gloves. That's it. And to think that you can't go in the ring, man versus man, and give the best you can. You need some competitive edge that's done illegally or chemically. It's appalling. I don't like it. I'll never stand for it, and I'll never agree with it. So, that's a big blemish.
You know, what gets me is, I don't know if it's stupidity, if it's, ignorance, or if it's just, people thinking that they're smarter than the average bear, boo-boo. But, I'm just, these guys know that they're going to be tested. And, especially with the WBC, I mean, they know they're going to get tested. Do they think that they're going to beat the system? I don't know. Listen, I've been very critical of Deontay Wilder and the level of opposition he has chosen to fight.
Yes.
And continue. And the only reason why I'm critical is because he pounds his chest and says he's the best out there. But when do we look at the people that are choosing his opponents and say to them, hey, are you even looking into these guys? Is it someone else's fault? Is it just the luck of Deontay Wilder that his last two opponents basically have tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs? I don't know who to put the blame on. We certainly can't blame Deontay Wilder.
No.
My only blame on Deontay Wilder is that he pounds his chest and says he's the best heavyweight in the world, which is not true. In order to be the best heavyweight in the world, you got to fight the best fighters, which Deontay has not done. But it's certainly not his fault. Now they're naming some possible opponents, and one name that has come up in multiple multiple sources is a guy that they just announced. I don't know if it was yesterday or late the day before, that was going to be on the undercard, and that's Dominic Brazil. He's fighting Izagubi Ulanov. And now we did talk about this fight, but it was announced that he's on this card along with Tony Harrison and Jarrett Hurd, two undefeated, or at least one undefeated fighter fighting for an elimination fight. And, here's my issue. If the WBC approves Brazil, who is coming off a knockout loss to Anthony Joshua, he's ranked number 17 by the WBC as of today. If the WBC approves him for a world title fight, that means they're going to have to elevate him into, I believe their rule is the top 12, or they may have the top 15. So all of a sudden, if Brazil gets elevated in order to the WBC to approve the fight, it's not going to look good for Deontay Wilder. I mean, how do you give a guy coming off a knockout loss a shot at a title?
I know. And as you said, the politics of boxing, and with the powers that may be, they can make, remember the old term, the dream weaver. They can make it all happen. And it's a shame because, by one's merit, the blood, sweat, and tears of the sport, only the best should be considered the contenders for a title. Going to hold the championship belt, by the way.
Another name mentioned, Sal, is that Jarrell Baby Miller. And Jarrell Baby Miller, who's, the biggest accomplishment he's had in his career so far is to prove to the boxing world that he's got a big mouth. This is a guy that, again, if they let him slide in to fight Deontay Wilder, again, you can't blame Deontay. But I honestly believe that the fans deserve a good matchup for Deontay Wilder. Now, granted, we're looking at 4 weeks away. There's an asterisk next to this, but he was planning on taking yet another weak opponent in Warzik. So I don't know, man. It's unfortunate. And by the way, Jarrell Baby Miller is also being touted to fight Luis Ortiz. So who knows what's going to happen after that. We got my man Johnston in the chat room suggesting maybe Huey Fury. Huey Fury, he hasn't fought anybody either. No disrespect to Huey, but he hasn't fought anybody either. Listen, when you're a world champion, Sal, you and I have talked about this a million times. When you're a world champion, you got to fight top opposition, right?
Well, yes, absolutely. Like I said, born and bred. The old ways that I remember growing up. Part of the obligation, part of the drama, part of the whole thing with being a world champion and being the best there is you have to face the number one ranked contender in the world every 6 months. In between, you can fight anybody else that's ranked or whatever, and you can choose anybody else for your staying in shape, whatever you want to do, and that's what gives the other contenders a chance to go for the world title. But every 6 months, you got to fight the number one ranked contender in the world, and whoever's that number one position, that's where these world sanctioning bodies could toggle the knobs and make everything happen. Who knows? Well,
according, basically, the sad thing is a guy could be elevated to that position. Simple. All they got to do is put the right number of greenbacks in one hand, and the sanctioning body will pencil in that guy's name as the mandatory opponent, which is sad to even think about.
It is sad. It's one of the realities that it's not brand new to boxing, Billy. You and I know the game, and but it is something that you have the power to write a check and to do things, and you'll see a guy coming out of the obscure places of the world all of a sudden be a world-ranked contender. It happens, and that's the way that's the game.
We got a couple of emails to read. Let's start off with my man Jesse. He says, "Hey Billy C, what's your thoughts on Yamanaka against Carlos Carlson? Do you think Carlos deserved and earned this title fight? He did fight some tough opponents, but no one in the top 15. I agree with Jesse on this one, Sal. Carlson has not really earned a title shot if you look at, fighting other guys. We've talked about this many times where, the normal routine for a professional is you fight your way into being considered a a prospect, and then you go from fighting as a prospect to a contender, and then you work your way up the contender list to get a shot at a title. That's the way it used to be, not anymore. This is how boxing is these days, and as long as the new fans, which accept this crap, as long as they continue to buy this and support it, this is what we're going to get. And it's sickening to me. Dax and I were talking last night for an extended period of time, and it's sickening. It's hard to stay into the sport of boxing. It really is. And when people are sticking up for this and, saying, I don't know what I'm talking about, that just shows me how far down the tubes the sport's going, Sal, and it's sad. It really is.
Well, it is, and like I always say, I just hope that it's hit bottom, or it's hit this temporary bottom where it could reboot itself. And I think, with just putting the good fights together, I mean, not every fight has to be a world beater, this and that, but damn, we need to see the serious fights, the serious contenders, the serious champions rise to the occasion and fight the best. When you're in that top category, that top 1 percentile or top 5% of all fighters, whatever it is, yes, those are the ones that deserve to battle amongst themselves to rise to become a champion. And, how many times have we heard we've tried to see a unification title fight or put all the belts together? If champions could last long enough of a period in this game today, that would be great, having every champion in some kind of round-robin title elimination to have one crown championship belt. We could think of another belt, the Super World Universe title. I don't know, but it's crazy. And that's the days of boxing are long gone.
Long gone.
Having one world champion.
Long gone.
And never to return, pal.
You're right. It never is going to return. They're long gone because nobody fights anybody anymore. It's all a bunch of, it's all maneuvering and like I keep blaming, it's the fans' fault. Because they accept
the fans have to realize it. Yes, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, the fans accept it. And all they have to do is not accept it, walk away from it, and you'll see. Now, granted, we do get some good fights. We're getting a great fight this weekend with Carl Frampton and Leo Santa Cruz rematch. And we do have some other great fights on the horizon. But, I just think that the layup fights are the club show fights. And when a fight gets on television, whether it be a national channel or a cable channel or whatever, or a pay-per-view, they have to be top fights against top fighters fighting each other. I mean, to get to that level, that's all we should be able to tune in on television and be able to watch. None of this bullshit showcase fights on TV. That they should leave for the club shows. I don't know. But anyway,
it's true. I mean, that's how it used to be. They did have the title elimination fights. They did have contenders fighting contenders, and they did have still a guy getting fed a cupcake here and there. While he progresses. Yeah, but once he's up there, it was always, hey, guess what? You're now a contender. We got to face these 10 top contenders, and they've got to fight each other.
Well, if they had a TV series that focuses on fighters on the rise, that would be cool, because then you know what you're getting. Great. But don't bill a fight as a great fight when you got one guy that can fight and the other guy is, defending himself. I don't know. Anyway,
Bill, go ahead.
Well, no, I just want to try. I just want to try and get through these emails so we can get on another topic, because you got less than 15. He says, "What's your thoughts on Rashid Warren and Zanat Zakyanov? Is this fight tough for both of these guys? How do their styles match up?" I'm not sure about that, Jesse, because Rashid Warren, in my opinion, is still, as a pro, to me at least, he's still untested and unproven, and he's still a work in progress. Now, he had a well-decorated amateur career, appearing and winning some medals in the Olympics. But Zakyanov also, he's tough, but mostly, an unknown commodity because of where he's from. So, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. So that's a good question. from Jesse. So we got another email. This one's from Mitch, and Mitch says there's also this is concerning the big fight this weekend. Sally says there's also another fight on HBO competing with the Showtime card, which we were just talking about between Carl Frampton and Leo Santa Cruz rematch. He says Francisco Vargas returns, not the rematch we wanted, which was against Orlando Salido. He says, but that one was so brutal. He gives Vargas a pass. He says, and by the way, you guys are giving them much too much credit. These anti-Trump protesters, he says, these anti-Trump people are not protesters, they're rioters. And, we talked about this the other day, Sal, and the truth of the matter is I'm all for people protesting and disagreeing with, the powers that be, specifically the government. But you have to give the guy a chance to do or not do what you're protesting against. You can't protest against something that he hasn't done yet, So that's just ignorance, in my opinion. But
it's just everybody from that cloth is just trying to get on a bandwagon and promote and have the, like you just said, if there's something to protest, that's one thing. But when there's going to be a rabble-rouser, just to have rhetoric and everything else that's unfounded at this time, give the man a chance. If he fails, then, protest, do what he can. But he's trying to do what I think every president should try and do, improve and have the betterment of the American citizens in mind and heart on a world stage and domestic stage. And that's all you can try and do.
Right. We got another, we got another couple of emails here. Let's read through these. This one's from one of my Welsh fans, my man Willie, who, he's in the chat room right now, too. And by the way, if you're watching or listening, I know that there's several different feeds going on, and I know there's chat rooms everywhere, but the one we respond to and are looking at is the one that's on BillyCBoxing.com. So if you want to be part of our conversation, join the guys in the chat room on BillyCBoxing.com. Willie says, hey, Billy C., I just found out that yet another one of Deontay Wilder's opponents, Andre Warzik, has tested positive for an undisclosed PED. Promoter Lou DiBella said he's looking for a replacement, and they're looking at possibly, here's another guy, according to Willie, possibly Gerald Washington, who's 18-0 with a draw, who he says is already on the undercard. Is another guy that he's got an undefeated record, but I mean he hasn't fought anybody. Deontay Wilder should have no problem. I just want to see Deontay Wilder fight a real fight. I mean that's it. Just to, but then again, I mean who the hell are we gonna shake down to fight him? I don't know. It's tough. The pickings are slim. He says, what the hell's going on with all these guys and their PED use? That sounds like a statement from you, Sal. He says, is it because they want to get caught so they don't have to face Wilder? Are they scared of his right hand? I don't think anybody's scared of Wilder. I really don't. It's the same thing I used to say about Floyd Mayweather. Nobody's scared of Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather doesn't scare anybody, unless you're a woman. Maybe he'll scare you because he likes to kick the shit out of women. Or if you're a pimply-faced security guard that's 18 or 20 years old, you might be a little nervous of Floyd. But anybody else, I don't see would be afraid of Floyd. And I don't think they're so afraid of Deontay. I watched video of a guy that isn't even a boxer. Deontay Wilder was hitting him openly in a gym. Repeatedly and couldn't even knock the guy down, and this guy wasn't even a fighter, so I don't know. Anyway, he says Wilder's not expected to postpone this fight. He needs another punching bag like Areola to test his injured hand and his bicep. I don't think Brazil or UNR are being considered as replacements, but Washington is. Do you think that Washington will step up if he's offered the fight? I don't, Again, this is a fan, and no disrespect to my man Willie, but this is a guy that's bought into the bullshit, Sal. Because think of it this way: do you think it's right for a fighter that's coming off an injury like Deontay Wilder or any other fighter, but I mean, we're talking about Deontay, so, for the fans to have to let him test his hand in a fight that's actually a title defense that he's getting. I mean, don't you test your injury in the gym?
In a gym. You test your injury in a gym. I mean,
right.
When you go out there in the square circle, it's no holds barred. You got to fight. You got to fight your opponent, and you can't have a cupcake to test your hand on. You do that with sparring. You do this here and there, and you prepare 6 to 8 weeks before a fight, and you test it. And that's where all the testing goes, out the door when you get in the ring. And Bill, I'm going to say something in defense of our fans, of the fan base of boxing. Some of these fans, they're just learning about boxing and everything else, and I don't say they're naive or not, but they're only getting fed what the media and what the boxing world sanctioning bodies want to feed them. So a lot of these guys don't know, like a Paul Harvey segment, and here's the rest of the story. They don't know the whole story, so they're drawing their assumptions and their ideas and their opinions on what they know that's on the surface. Some of them are proactive enough to read beneath the surface and the look, and that's fine. But for the majority of the fans, the casual fans or something else, they're just getting what everyone is feeding them, and that's why they are in the position, or the boxing's in the position it is today. So I just want to say that, because there are fans that do know.
Yeah, well, I think that you're being kind, because they think they know. They think they know because they believe the crock of crap that they're being fed. And here's the sad part: if they support what they're getting crammed down their throat and they like it, well, then we're out of touch. Then it's us that are getting kicked to the curb. But hey, Coach just came up with a good idea in the chat room, and normally I would say, what are you kidding me? Because I've been very critical of this guy. But he says, how about Shannon Briggs? Bring him in. Yeah. You know what? I'd rather see Shannon Briggs fight Deontay Wilder other than some of these other guys. And the reason why he wouldn't fight a Shannon Briggs is because Shannon Briggs does, even though he's a lunatic, even though Deontay Wilder should knock him out fairly quickly, he does possess punching power. And that scares Deontay Wilder because he's got a suspect chin, So anyway,
that would be an interesting fight. I wouldn't mind saying that.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, listen, we got to get a last minute sub. You might as well get a guy that's going to come in balls to the wall, and that's what you'd get from Shannon Briggs. I don't know how long he'd last, but anyway, last
he's not looking to go to the end of the fight.
Oh, well, he's he doesn't. He would want it to end earlier. His only shot would be to jump all. Yeah, no, I know, but his only shot would be to jump all over Deontay and catch him. Joel, final email. He says, after the news coming out that Warzik is out of the Wilder fight because of failing a VADA test for steroids, do you guys really think that Al Heyman and company will find a suitable opponent on a month's notice, or will we see Wilder, as Dax was tweeting last night, fight someone like Jason Gavrin or someone along those lines? We would love to see, he says, I would love to see you ask Larry on his thoughts on this. I'm afraid that, thanks for the email, Joel. I'm afraid that we might see a Jason Gavrin type guy. I just don't think that, well, let me rephrase it. I hope that the WBC does not approve some bum as a title defense. I mean, Deontay Wilder's going to go through with the fight. He's going to fight somebody. And if he gets a proverbial punching bag to beat up in front of his hometown, as long as the WBC does not approve a bum, I guess we got to deal with it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Got to take it. Got to swallow a pill, pal. Yep.
Sad. Hey, listen, before we let you go, I wanted to ask you your opinion on this. I'm not a big fan of Virgil Hunter. I've said many times I think he's an extremely overrated trainer. Obviously, he's had success with Andre Ward. Even Floyd Mayweather came out and said that Virgil Hunter is overrated and not a good trainer. But it was announced the other day, Sal, that Ringstar Sports, okay, which is the promotional company of Richard Schaefer, and who had just did a European alliance with David Hayes, Haymaker Promotions, just signed a gold medalist, an Olympic gold medalist from 2016 in the super heavyweight division, Tony Yoka, out of France. And, they're going to be kicking off his career, his pro career, sometime in May in his home country of France. Yoka is 6'7", Sal, and, the prototypical heavyweight of today. But he also announced that Yoka will be trained by Virgil Hunter. I think this is a huge mistake. I think that a young and again, I don't have anything personally against Virgil Hunter. I just don't think he's a good trainer. I think that he's getting all these accolades for being a kind of a guy that helped one fighter. And, I'm not a big fan of Andre Ward, but he obviously possesses natural talent. What's your thoughts on Virgil Hunter being given a gold medal and a heavyweight at that? Are we going to see a guy that's going to avoid, big fights? What's your thoughts?
It's funny because, some fighters are suited to train lighter weight fighters, and some fighters can train a heavyweight. And the bottom line is this. I often said in the past, I'll say it in the present, I'll say it in the future. Did the chicken or egg come first? Does a trainer make a fighter? Does a fighter make a trainer? It goes hand in hand on a lot of levels. There are some great trainers out there that hone in, that can actually look at a fighter and isolate what he needs to see how to improve this fighter, and look at capitalizing on the fighter's assets and negating anything that might be a deficit and improving it. And those are the fighters, those are the trainers that really do the job. Now, is Virgil Hunter that kind of trainer? He's aligned himself, with many world stage and world class fighters, and almost like Freddie Roach has. And I think it also depends upon the fighter. The fighter has to have confidence in their corner, has to have confidence in their trainer. Because if that trainer says, hey, you got to walk on fire, you're going to do it. You're going to walk on that fire to make it work, and it's going to work because you have that faith, you have that confidence. There has to be such a tight relationship. And if it's a new relationship, it's going to be a feeling out period with a new fighter, with a new trainer. They've got to get to know each other. If the fighter, it just goes like that, Billy. It's very often hard to tell what a trainer actually does possess unless he is key on that fighter. It's almost like a romance, and you love that fighter, then that fighter loves you to work with, and you guys just feed off the opportunity to improve and be stellar.
Well,
it's a hard question.
I think that, and we got to go, but I think that a guy that wins a gold medal in the Olympics, who's facing,
got to be handled carefully.
No. What my point is what was wrong with the guy that trained him to that point?
Well, here's the thing. A lot of times, Billy, you have what's great as an amateur trainer doesn't always cross over into the pros. No,
I get it. I get that, but I don't know. Maybe they are bringing in Virgil Hunter as an addition.
Maybe.
As an addition. But this is a kid, even though he's only 24, this is a kid that's used to, that other voice. And before I let you go, I agree with what you just said 100%, because a good trainer, a great trainer, can take, multiple different styles of a fighter, what he possesses naturally, and bring out the best. A great trainer will have boxers and punchers and brawlers and all different kinds of fighters that are successful. I always use my friend Kevin Rooney as an example. He was a one-dimensional fighter. He happened to have had, like you posed the chicken before the egg question, does the trainer make the fighter or the fighter make the trainer? And he got the perfect guy for his style in Mike Tyson. But there was no other success for him, so.
Right. Isn't that ironic?
No.
Hey, I know I got to go, but I got to tell everybody, because I'm so upset when the other day when I lost my internet and everything, because I wanted to say the other day, this day in boxing history, 100 years ago, on the 22nd of November, maybe not 100 years, Billy C. was born and brought into this world.
November. We're in January, my man.
I mean, but no. I mean January 22nd. Boy, I'll tell you. Why did I look at the 11? You know what? I gotta get my glasses.
Yeah, I think 11. You better. I think maybe
January 22nd.
You know,
I want to wish you a happy birthday, belated.
Thank you.
And the very best. And I just wanted to let everyone know that you had a great birthday on Sunday, January the 22nd. And I want to thank you, and I hope you had a great day. And many more healthy and happy birthdays ahead for you.
I certainly did, and thank you very much. And I just hope that someday I can age and be as old as you are, Sal. You know, so
hey, we're there for each other, pal.
So, you know, I know it's tough, you know, taking the Geritol and eating through that tube and everything. But you know what? Just think positive. Just think positive. Hey, Sal, I appreciate it, and we'll chat next time, brother.
All right, buddy. You take care, brother. Thank you.
Take care. That's my man, Sal Rocky Senecola, giving us his thoughts. I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, Larry Hazard scheduled to join us.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans. Check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now, back to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Billy C. Morning Show. Don't forget, we're doing a post-fight show immediately following the Carl Frampton-Leo Santa Cruz rematch, which is scheduled for Saturday. So approximately 6 minutes after that fight, the official announcement is made. Make sure you tune it in right here on BillyCBoxing.com, on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing, or on Fight TV and their app, their handheld app, which is Fight.tv. That's FITE.TV/Billy C. So make sure you tune it in here. We'll have the phone lines open to get your thoughts on a highly anticipated rematch between Carl Frampton and Leo Santa Cruz. Joining me right now, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner, Larry Hazard. What's up, Larry?
Hey, good morning, Billy.
How you doing, my man?
Very good.
Well, you know, you had a great fight in Atlantic City the other day. I saw you in the TV shot looking pretty dapper as usual. In case no one has ever seen my man Larry Hazard, he's always the guy dressed the best. You really do. That's one thing I've always admired about you, Larry. You know, even before we met personally, you always you're a class act, man. I mean, that's something people got to know, that Larry Hazard takes the time to look his best, man. And I think that's important.
Well, thank you very much, Billy. I think that's a good thing. I mean, I've always been a professional, and I think that looking the part, whatever that means, I guess, a nice shirt and tie and a suit if you can. I think that goes well with our sport. It's just, I think that it speaks well for the sport.
Well, I much rather see you dressed like that than the way a lot of guys come now in those I don't even know if they're not even sweatpants, but like those gym outfits that everybody seems to wear now. I mean, you just wouldn't look the same. If I saw you in one of those, I'd be like, what is he not feeling well today or what? Not that there's anything against that. It's just that But anyway, what a great fight at Bally's. Between Danny Roman and Adam Lopez, I was impressed. I liked the fight, and what was your thoughts of that fight? And basically, that whole card seemed action packed. I hope the fans in Atlantic City enjoyed themselves.
Yes, they did. They did. The place was packed. I thought that it was an outstanding event. The card was good. The matches were good. The Lopez-Roman fight, what a way to end the night. And I thought some of the other fights on the card, when we look at some of these bouts, we use the phrase, these are good bouts for television. Well, I thought that all of the bouts that you saw, I thought were excellent for television and for that type of setting. And I hope that fans enjoyed it. These, in my opinion, are the types of fights, the types of events that are good for the sport of boxing. And I certainly hope that we can keep it going here in the state of New Jersey. So I thought it was an outstanding event. I thought it was a good night. And I thought that the main event really topped it off. It was like the crowning jewel of the evening. So I was very pleased.
My man, referee Harvey Dock, was in a tough position during the fourth round of that fight. And I saw him. I was, you know how I always watch the referees. And I saw him, looking very intently at Lopez, wondering should he stop it or whatever. But that kid kept fighting back. I mean, that's got to be a tough decision for not only Harvey, but other referees, especially ones that you can speak for because they're basically under New Jersey's rules. And I watched him looking and keeping his eyes on the kid, and he was fighting back. What kind of stuff does a guy like Harvey Dock, if he even discusses that with you after the fight? I mean, does he question himself during that, or does he just not concern himself with anything but the safety of the fighter? I mean, that's got to be a tough position for him as a referee.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Harvey Dock and David Fields. Those two young guys, I'm very proud of them because I actually mentored both of them from the amateur level all the way to where you see they are at this point. So I feel very much a part of their success. I feel very much a part of how they handle themselves in the events. The first thing that they were always taught is that people didn't come to see you. You're not the major attraction. And so as you know, they always keep themselves as much as possible out of the way of the fighters, as much as possible out of view, if they can, and their major focus, okay, and Harvey and David, always try to position yourself where you can have a clear view of a fighter's face, his expressions, looking for those signs of concussion, especially after heated exchanges. And so this takes concentration, takes focus. And Harvey in particular, since we're talking about him, he does that very well. And if you know, he goes over to the corners frequently to converse with the fighters, with the seconds. He calls the doctor. You see how the doctor kept coming in? Okay? These are the types of things that are designed for as much as we can because, when we talk about boxing safety, it's almost like an oxymoron in a sport that is, innately dangerous. But we try to do as much as we could to limit the dangers. And very, very good. Hats off to Ronnie Shields, a real teacher, a real corner man, you see. And I'm a firm believer, and I told Hop, try to rely as much as possible on the view of the corner man. You got an expert corner man there in Ronnie Shields. Okay? He's not going to let his fighter take a lot of unnecessary punishment. So, try to establish that dialogue, that eyeball dialogue with the corner man. You heard Ronnie say to his fighter, hey, look, if you don't change this situation around, I'm going to stop this fight. I'm going to stop this fight, and I'm going to give you one more round. So that helps a referee. That helps him. And, of course, Harvey was giving the fighter every opportunity that he could give him to, do his best. So I was very, very proud. And he got an A+, for the job that he did. And I thought that Ronnie Shields was excellent. I mean, these are the types of cornermen and trainers that we don't see that much in the sport of boxing anymore. And it's just great to have a guy like Ronnie Shields still around.
Like Ronnie Shields, the good thing about that is he tells his fighter, hey, if you don't show me something or if you don't do X, Y, Z, I'm going to stop the fight. And then he actually does. How many times do you see fighters go, do you want me to stop this fight? No, I'm going to stop the fight. I'm going to stop the fight. And then they're pushing him out for another round, and the fighter's got to lose confidence to, thinking that, maybe the corner's not out there to save me. One other fight I wanted to mention on that card, the Kenneth Sims Jr. And the fight that he had against Emmanuel Robles. I tell you, these two guys, at least by record, aren't known as knockout punchers. But man, did they start? They went at each other like somebody that they beat up each other's sisters or something. Because that fight was nonstop for the whole time, and I'm shocked that they both ended on their feet. I mean, I was very impressed. These are the kinds of fights, that card specifically. What I liked about it is it to me it was what the Showbox cards used to be like, where you get two young fighters on their way up, evenly matched, actually fighting each other instead of what it kind of had become a showcase. Really, I mean, yes, there was an A side and a B side, but none of the B-sides really went in there, with you thinking that it was going to be a slaughter. They all, I thought it was a great card.
Well, there was a guy named Jay Larkin, the late Jay Larkin, who worked for Showtime. That was his vision. His vision for Showbox, as you know, was Showbox the Next Generation. His vision was to develop the next generation of stars, and a major portion of those fighters that you saw on Showbox going back many years became outstanding fighters and world champions. So, this hopefully, with this being the first Showbox out of the blocks for 2017, let's hope that it keeps going. Because, I saw some stars in the making Friday night. And I think the fact that these guys knew that they were on national television even gave them greater incentive. And that's good. That's a good thing. And they came to fight, and they didn't let anybody down, not by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Larry. If they can keep these kinds of fights going, maybe we can re-educate the young, new fan, I should say, that actually buys into some of the crap that we have been fed. And before I get into some disheartening news, Zeb Judah fought in Trenton the day after that fight, and made quick work of his sacrificial lamb that he fought. In your opinion, does Judah have anything left? I mean, I know it's hard to go by, just an annihilation of a guy that he was supposed to take care of quickly. But is Zab Judah going to show us anything, or is he just looking for some paydays or what?
Well, I think he's serious, Billy. And as you know, wasn't a whole lot in front of him. Okay, but I did see some speed. He came in on weight, which is a good indication that he had been in the gym. And I was told, because I asked the same question, of a lot of people. And I was told that he was very serious, that he was he was training very diligently. He looked good, in terms of weight. He came in at like 141, 42 pounds, which was well within the limit. And I think he's serious, Billy. I think that the next opponent certainly has to step that up a little bit, because, that's not going to tell us much, with these quick annihilations. But if he comes back to New Jersey again, I'm going to insist that, he comes back with somebody step it up a little bit, and it'll tell us more. But from what I saw Saturday night, I think that Zab Judah is for real. And he's 39 now, 39-40, which I guess by today's standard is really not old anymore in boxing. So if he's really serious, and if he really trains diligently and focuses on the sport, I think that he does have something left, because, Zab really never really gotten, beat up real bad in a fight. He always did well for as long as he was there. He started out real well, even with Mayweather, So if he's serious, I think he may have some life left, Billy.
As long as he doesn't go from the fight on Saturday to a big huge fight like a Mayweather fight, and obviously Mayweather's retired, but a big high profile type fight like that, where you could say, well, wait a minute, he's going there for the payday, But anyway, I wanted to get your thoughts on the latest PED failure. It was released yesterday, last night, that Deontay Wilder's scheduled opponent, Andrzej Warzik, failed the WBC drug test, and there's all kinds of opinions floating out there, Larry, and I've been very critical of Deontay Wilder and his level of opposition that he's picked, and I think what bothers me the most is that he pounds his chest and says he's the best out there, and he really doesn't have the resume to back that up. But obviously this is not his fault, and now the big question is, and considering this fight is being held in his home state of Alabama, who they're gonna give him, and they got 4 weeks to find someone. What's your thoughts on what's going on with the PED? I mean, are these guys that they really think they're gonna beat the system? I just don't understand it. How they're even trying to cheat when they know that they're being tested. It boggles my mind. What's your thoughts on this situation?
You know what? Your guess is as good as mine, Bill. I really don't know. But they're talking about throwing, this guy Brazil, isn't that his name?
Yeah,
He's on the undercard.
Yeah, Brazil. But what I don't get about that, and if it's going to be, listen, you're looking at 4 weeks away. It was supposed to be a world title defense. So, the way that the sanctioning bodies work is they have a rule that a fighter that's going to be fighting for their world title has to be ranked someplace in their rankings, whether it be top 10, 12, or 15. I lose track of each sanctioning body, so I don't even know what the WBC's rule is. But currently, Brazil is ranked at number 17. Now, if they magically move him up in the next few hours to be in that slot that is a mandatory, that's to me, that's worse than saying, you know what, give him whoever's available and make it a non-title fight. And how do you give a guy like Brazil, who's coming off a knockout loss, a shot at a world title? I mean, I don't get it.
Well, I was trying to figure out how Yuri Foreman fought for a title so quick. You know what I mean?
There's so many titles.
It goes on. It goes on all over. But as I told you before, and I'm speaking from experience, I worked for a sanctioning organization for 2 years. Okay? The only thing, sanctioning organizations deal with colors. And the only color that's important to them is green. Okay? And so that's what that's all about. And it's not really so much about what's good for the sport of boxing. It's whatever, how green it is. And that's the way it is with sanctioning organizations. But I agree with you 100%. I mean, get them someone who's available other than to just, pump this guy all the way up in the rankings and then try to push the fight off as a legitimate heavyweight fight. And I would hope and I would think that Deontay Wilder, where does legacy ever fall into the mindset of these fighters anymore? Heavyweight champion of the world. A guy like Deontay Wilder should be out there screaming for Joshua or, Fury or one of those guys at the top. He should be screaming for him to show that he is the best. So, I'm a little disappointed in Deontay Wilder because I was very high on him in the beginning, but it seems now that he's gotten wrapped up in the, in the hype. And, he's going to have to prove himself to me now again because the quality of opponents that he's been fighting lately just to me doesn't meet the mark. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens, this whole situation.
Well, that's the main thing that bothers me, and that's why I've been so critical with Deontay, because he does say he wants to fight this one and that one, and I'm the best heavyweight in the world, and then you end up with a guy we've never heard of, and we could say, well, it's not him, he's not making the deals, he's not doing, but as well as I do, at the end of the day, you go into your manager's office, or you get him on the horn, or you go to your promoter's office, or get him on the phone, and you say, hey, I want this fight, make it happen. Eliminate all the other BS. I'll fight for a little less. I'll go to his hometown. I'll do what I got to do. Make the fight, and the fight gets made. I mean, let's be real. I mean, that's the way it works. So I don't get it. And then the other part of this, Larry, that's even more disheartening to me, is that they're already he already planted the excuse, so to speak, the excuse in place. If my hand holds up, if my bicep holds up in this fight, blah blah blah, then I'm going to go after this guy. Well, I just asked Sal Senecola, who's a co-host with me on this show earlier. Isn't the place to test if your hand is okay in the gym? I mean, why do you have to have a fight against a non-relevant fighter in your weight class to actually test it? I mean, aren't you sparring or hitting the bag? Or I mean, don't you know if the hand is strong enough before you get in the ring? Enlighten me.
And why do you even let the opponent know that there is a problem? You know what I mean? It seems to me you would be out saying, "Oh, I'm fine. Everything is good." You know what I mean? Why does that become a subject of your conversation, especially for your opponent? I just don't understand it. It's almost like putting the excuse in place beforehand. Okay, so if things don't come out the way you would like, now you already got the excuse, you know. So, yeah, that's today's athlete, man. That's today's fighter. How many times have you hear, I don't want to make up any excuses after they lose, and then you get a whole barrage of excuses right after.
Right, because they say that. I always say it. They say the sentence, and it goes like this all the time. I mean, you could bet your last dollar. I don't want to make an excuse, but here it comes. Here comes. Get ready. Because there's the excuses. You don't want to make an excuse. Then don't even say I don't want to make an excuse. I don't want to make an excuse. He was the better man tonight. Bam. End of story. That's not making an excuse. I don't want to make an excuse, but I had the flu today. I don't want to make an excuse, but I broke my hand in the second round. Those are excuses. I mean, Manny Pacquiao did it against Floyd. I don't want to make an excuse, but I hurt my shoulder. They wouldn't let me get a shot. I mean, well, hey, Manny, you just made an excuse. So I don't know. It's disheartening, and one of the biggest things that bother me is a lot of the young fans, and I hate to keep blaming it, but they're the ones that are accepting it. They're the ones that criticize me for criticizing Wilder or criticizing, a fighter who's, not fighting anybody, and pounding their chest. I mean, I used to think that the way it worked was, you're an amateur, you turn pro, you work your way into being defined as a prospect. You go from being a prospect to a contender. Then once you're a contender, you climb the contender ladder until you get to number one, then you get a world title shot. I mean, that just doesn't happen anymore today, Larry.
Well, we're dealing with a whole new generation of clients. I guess that's a good term. The population out there, the young fans, the young fighters who come from among those young fans, where excuses are acceptable. It's just all a part of the society from which they've been reared, and so they expect. We're like a dying breed, really. We're old school guys, so that's why we have so much disagreement with these young guys, because they expect us to be accepting of all of this nonsense that they bring. And that's where they run into the roadblocks. So we just have to try to strike a happy medium somewhere in there and try to educate them, and try to put out there as much of our knowledge of how things should be. And hopefully at some point it'll catch on. And of course we get red in the face or blue in the face in the process. But we have to keep trying, and that's the way it is. Yeah. That constant battle that's going on.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to see it the way we hope. But this weekend, big fight, Carl Frampton, Leo Santa Cruz rematch. I'm looking forward to it. It was a great first fight. I really, these guys have, in the promotion leading up to the fight, have said the normal stuff that most fighters say. But, with these two guys, I kind of believe it, only because we've seen it. My question, I know you don't like to get too Nostradamus with your predictions, but do you think that this fight, I'm going to ask you a safe question, Larry. Do you think this fight is going to live up to what the first fight gave us?
Well, they never do. In most instances. No, I won't say they never do, but in most instances, they don't. But I think that this one has a good chance of doing that, Billy. Yes, I do.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. I think so too. I think, and if Leo Santa Cruz wins this one, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a trilogy here. And it's something that I think boxing needs. A topic of one of our shows recently was, boxing needs more rematches, and for some reason, fighters don't want to do rematches anymore. And I think it's a mistake. I think that it creates rivalries, and rivalries have traditionally been very good for boxing. And, I would like to see it come back.
Sure. I mean, who would have any objection to the Badu and, the fight last week? a few weeks ago.
Yeah, but he moved up.
That's
You see, now you see that was.
I know,
that
he
was
moved,
you know, and to me, there has to be. First of all, I had never heard, unless they kept it under wraps. I had never heard that Jack had trouble making weight. He didn't have to do anything special to get weight again or anything like that. He made weight. He looked good in the fight. He looked, healthy and all of that stuff at the weigh-in. And then next thing you know, I can't make weight and I'm moving up. And I have reason to believe, or at least I'm assuming, and you know what they say about that, but that, his management says, listen, we already got you something lined up in a weight division above. And to me, the G word, the greed factor, is ruining a good rematch that the sport could have gotten. And they both could have gotten paid pretty handsomely for a rematch, Larry. But again, they avoid the rematch. He didn't even win. The fight was a draw. I mean, a lot of times a rematch, happens when one fighter wins and other people think the fight was controversial or whatever. This fight ended in a draw. Right. I mean, this is a perfect rematch opportunity.
Perfect rematch.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Couldn't you tell in the interview? Couldn't you tell in the interview the way Badu was hedging, and Floyd was sort of like, fading away from the conversation of a rematch because he was implying that he wanted to move up. He was sounding that way in the interview.
I know. And it makes no sense. They could have made money because of the quality of the first fight. It could have been a pay-per-view. You wonder. You just wonder, if money's not driving the ship, what is? And Floyd, that's why a lot of times I feel that he's to blame for a lot of these routes that fighters are taking, because of his success. I was talking to Dax the other day, last night, and he was telling me about an interview Floyd did, and he was knocking Muhammad Ali, of all people, saying, Muhammad Ali shouldn't. He said he shouldn't have. He said he shouldn't have taken that much punishment. Fighters shouldn't take punishment. Their job is to avoid it. And although I agree with that statement, the difference between Muhammad Ali and Floyd Mayweather is somebody can mention Muhammad Ali's name to me, and immediately a bunch of fights will pop into my head that I remember.
Yes.
When you mention Floyd Mayweather to me, I
Right.
remember the man. I know the man. I know the success. I know the undefeated record. But his fights were not exciting. And to me, that's what's hurting the sport. We're getting fighters going through the motions, winning fights, winning money, keeping their records intact, and they're not leaving a memorable performance for the archives.
Right.
So I don't know.
And that's a very interesting statement that you made, because isn't that really the case with most, if not all, of the great fighters from the past? When someone mentions their name, a bunch of fights start popping up in your head, more so than just the fighter that they mention. If you mention Sugar Ray Leonard, right away you start thinking about Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran. If you mention Mike Tyson, right away you start thinking about Evander Holyfield and some of the other guys that he fought.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the mark of greatness. You are absolutely correct. Because I had a very interesting debate about Floyd Mayweather and my favorite guy, Sugar Ray Leonard, with one of the young boxing fans who thought that Floyd Mayweather was better. And I said, well, all you got to do is put two screens on the wall or find two televisions, put them side by side, go get any of the best videos of fights that you saw Floyd Mayweather, and you go get Sugar Ray Leonard's videos and put them in and watch them at the same time, and then you tell me who was the better fighter. Okay?
But the argument that you're going to get from a younger fan is what made Floyd successful. They're going to say one of two things, just like Floyd said. Yeah, nobody beat me. I'm undefeated, and I made a gazillion dollars. And today's fan, they equate that to greatness. You know how many times people tell me young fans tell me that Floyd would have beaten Sugar Ray Robinson, I almost have a heart attack. How can you even mention the two? And the thing about your boy with Sugar Ray Leonard, this is a guy that fought multiple styles. He wasn't the same mundane, boring fight after fight. He fought the way he needed to win. If he had a brawl, he brawled. If he had a box, he boxed. If he had to dance around and play games, he did. And that's what
right.
makes great fighters. And Floyd, he just doesn't have that on his resume. He can sugarcoat it and paint it a million different ways, but he doesn't have it. And it's going to be interesting to see. Unfortunately, we won't be around, but it'll be interesting to see 50 years from now, 100 years from now, if people even mention him in the breaths that they mention the all-time greats that will live on forever.
I agree. I
don't know, man. Anyway, Larry, I appreciate you hanging around a little longer.
Right.
I sent you an email. We won't be doing the show next week, but we'll see you the week after, my man.
Okay, Billy. I'll see you then.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
Okay, you too.
That's Larry Hazard, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner, giving us his thoughts. And as usual, Larry's dead nuts on. But a couple of things I wanted to mention real quick. It was announced that Carlos Cujas, who was the last fighter to fight Chocolito, Roman Gonzalez, which was a fantastic fight, has been added to the Triple G Daniel Jacobs pay-per-view card in Madison Square Garden in New York City. And that he'll be taking on a tough fighter in David Carmona, who's got a record of 20 wins, 3 losses, and 5 draws. The fight with a rematch with Roman Gonzalez is all Carlos Cujas wanted, but he feels now that this is a step in the direction of possibly obtaining a rematch. So that fight has been added to the pay-per-view card. Another fight that press conference was kicked off in England yesterday. Jorge Linares is going to be giving Anthony Crowler a rematch for his WBA lightweight world title. Linares says, I wasn't supposed to win the first fight, but I'm glad I did so I can come back and do it again. The belts mean so much to me and my country, and I'm going to work very hard to make sure that I take them home with me. Anthony Crowler said, I want the belt back. That's simple. Fighting for these prizes in front of us is huge. I'm so lucky to have a second chance, and it's one that I have to take. I'm better in my rematches, and I'm locking myself away to work harder and smarter to make sure these belts stay here. So anyway, also there was a lot of rumor that Kell Brook was going to fight Amir Khan in what they were billing as a grudge match. But the promoter or the potential promoter, Eddie Hearn, who's Kell Brook's promoter, offered Amir Khan a 50-50 split, which I think is more than reasonable. I mean, Amir Khan, when was the last time he won a fight? And Khan said no. Khan said he wants 70-30 in his favor. I think Khan... I think he's been putting out too many sex tape videos, and maybe he's caught something that he needs a shot for. I don't know. But I would, if I'm Kell Brook, I say bye-bye Amir. Go find another opponent. Kell Brook, in my opinion, is one of the best pound-for-pound fighters out there today. So anyway, another fighter that I loved. I keep promising everybody I'm going to put together a collection of all the interviews we have of some of these great fighters when they were starting out. And Yuriorkis Gamboa was one that we had via an interpreter when he first came to this country, when he escaped from Cuba. And it was announced yesterday that Golden Boy teamed up with Yuriorkis Gamboa's management team and signed a multi-fight deal with Gamboa, and says that the former champion will be fighting and facing Rene Alvarado pretty soon. So we'll keep our eyes open for that. And one last thing I wanted to mention, I talked about him a couple seconds ago, Roman Chocolito Gonzalez, undefeated at 46-0 with 38 knockouts, is preparing for his next fight, Cyril Kasit Sor Rungvisal, which I know I just murdered, and I apologize, out of Thailand. It's going to be taking place on the undercard of the Triple G Daniel Jacobs fight at the Garden on March 18th. Gonzalez says Rungvisal, which I tried to say quickly, is a fighter. He's a very tough fighter who wants my title. His fighting style suits me. He says, however, I got to be really careful with this guy because he's got outrageous punching power. I got the tools to beat him. He's got power, but I think he's got nothing else. And he said, I also have to be conscious of headbutts because of his style. He also added that with the passing of my longtime trainer, Arnolfo Abando, my head trainer now will be my father, Luis Gonzalez, and also in my corner will be Wilmer Hernandez. They've both been assistants to Arnolfo throughout my career, so I don't think I'm going to have any trouble there. That's going to be a big question. When you lose that comfort zone, it's tougher than you might think. Trust me. Listen, don't forget, we will be doing a show again on Friday, Fan-Driven Friday. We'll talk about the latest news and then open up the phone lines for you guys to give us your thoughts. A lot of things going on in the sport today, so and between now and then, maybe some more things will go on. Don't forget, if you take the time to drop us an email, we'll take the time to read it on this show. Just email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. Don't forget, we are doing a Carl Frampton, Leo Santa Cruz rematch post-fight show right here on Fight TV, on our YouTube channel, and, of course, on Billy C. Boxing, approximately 6 minutes after the fight is over. We won't be able to cover the Francisco Vargas Miguel Burchell fight because we'll be scoring and keeping track of the first one. So we'll be primarily discussing the Showtime card on Saturday night after Frampton Santa Cruz rematch. So make sure you tune it in here. And a quick programming note, as you heard me mention to Larry, we will not be here next Wednesday, a week from today. I am doing an interview for a documentary they're writing about my guy, Tom Molino. So we will not be able to do a live show, but we will be here Monday and Friday of next week. And I do believe there's a big fight that will get us to do a post-fight show as well next week. I don't remember the schedule off the top of my head, but I for some reason I think there's another big fight. But anyway, hey, listen, make sure you tune in Friday. Basically, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.